All right. I jotted down a bunch of stuff because lots of technical info, names of people, things like that I didn't want to forget. But anyway, everyone here has COVID except for me, because I had it a few months ago. But anyway, they're all doing fine, but they're all sort of sequestered in one part of the house with like closed door, and I'm stuck in another part of the house. So I don't have much to do except, my regular work and getting everything that they need, lunches, dinners, all that stuff. Actually, I'm kind of pretty much just doing everything. But anyway, in between all of that, I did have a chance to read a few articles online, and I know that I had read a couple books a little while ago about this. And the more I think about it, the more interesting it is. And I thought I would just kind of throw it out there for this episode of You Gotta Have Heart. So make sure that you subscribe and like and all of that. So anyway, what we are going to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about, is Savant Syndrome. And, as you know, there's the theory, the thing that people say, there's no real way to measure it, but they say the average person only uses 10% of their brain. Okay, so a lot of your brain is doing just sort of maintenance stuff. So, your heart, making sure that your heart is beating, breathing, just all the regular sort of body maintenance stuff. Okay, digestion, whatever. So all of that your brain is doing. Okay, and that's sort of like the stuff in the background. So the stuff in the foreground that you're actually thinking about, that you're actually consciously doing, that you're conscious of, they say that you only use like 10% of your brain. So clearly, just sort of evolution or, creation, whatever you feel, whatever you believe, why would we have 100% of our brain if we only use 10% of it? So there must be stuff happening. And the Savant Syndrome is, the famous one is, the famous just concept is you have somebody that's severely autistic, but they can tell you the day of the week for any date. So you could say like, okay, in 1892, what was May 12th? And they'll tell you what day of the week it was. And then you check it and they're correct. And it's like, how do they know that? So that sort of idea, okay, is the Savant Syndrome that everybody thinks about. Okay, so there was a guy, Kim Peek, and he was the inspiration for Rain Man, the movie, and he could memorize tons and tons of stuff. So when they looked into what his sort of issue was, and I believe he was severely autistic, I believe was his diagnosis, they found that the bundle of nerves connecting the two hemispheres of his brain, the two halves of his brain, was missing, damaged. It wasn't doing what it does in a normal person's brain. So somehow that unlocked something where he could memorize just like everything. He could read a book on average in about like one book an hour. And I guess what he did was he had books and he would take a book off of a bookshelf, read it, and then put it back upside down. That's how he knew that he had already read it. And he did that for his entire life, which of course makes me think, wouldn't he remember which books he had read or not? But anyway, that's nitpicking. So he would read these books and then could recall all the information in these books with like photographic accuracy. And it was said that he had memorized over 12,000 books. That's pretty wild. But it gets even wilder than that. Okay? The way he could read was he would open a book, okay? His left eye would read the left page, and his right eye would read the right page. So he was reading both pages simultaneously and remembering everything on them. That's pretty wild. Okay, so, and I do have a point getting to all of this, but I want to talk about the Savant Syndrome. So, you know, with the Savant Syndrome, a lot of times people would have like severely impaired social abilities. So like autism and things like that. So what they call social IQ, they would have very low social IQ, but at the expense of other intelligence. So, you know, I don't know, is it a good trade-off? I don't know. Something to think about. Okay, so what it makes me wonder is there some way to unlock that potential in somebody's brain? You know, I don't know. Would you want to give up, like, would you want to become severely autistic so that you could memorize the days of the week for dates? Like, I don't know, you know, but there's somehow that we could, if there was somehow that we could unlock these things, these abilities, and not sort of damage other abilities or at the cost of losing other abilities, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? So that leads us to what's called sudden Savant Syndrome. It's a thing, and it's mind-blowing. Okay, so the big one that pops up is a guy, Jason, yes, Jason Padgett. Sorry, I have them out of order. Jason Padgett. He dropped out of college. He had no real aptitude for anything. He was kind of a party guy and just kind of, you know, living it up through life, having fun and just living for the moment. And in 2002, he was attacked and robbed. He says that he walked out of a nightclub or a bar or whatever and was hit in the back of his head and just saw like a flash of light and dropped. And I guess there was a guy with him, a friend that confirms this. So anyway, he was beaten and robbed, and when he came to, all of a sudden, he could just see math everywhere, geometry everywhere, and it was like the most bizarre thing. So this happened to him. He suddenly, something happened and his brain unlocked after a head injury. His something unlocked in his brain, the ability to see all of this geometry and shapes and how they all interrelated, and this math. He just had this unbelievable math ability with geometric concepts and everything. Another guy, Derek Amato, had a head injury. He had a severe concussion. I guess he was playing football with some friends and hit his head on a concrete side of a pool or something. Actually, I think he fell into the shallow end of the pool, hit his head. So anyway, he was basically unconscious for like 5 days. And he recovered. And very shortly after getting out of the hospital, he was at a friend's house and they had a piano. And for some reason, he was drawn to the piano. he sat down and started playing piano. Like a genius, started playing piano, and he had never played piano before. Never. He never thought of himself as musical at all. He had kind of dabbled a little bit in high school or whatever, with I think guitar or something. But all of a sudden, he could play piano like just a master. And they MRI'd, they did all kinds of things, and they couldn't figure out what happened. They believed somehow the concussion, the severe concussion, rewired something in his brain and unlocked this magical ability to play piano. It's bizarre. So thinking of that, like if there's some way that modern medicine could unlock these things, imagine what mankind could do. Okay, not just math, not just music, things like that. Like the ability to memorize so many things, to be able to see geometric shapes means that this guy was making connections in his brain. So make connections in the field of science, make connections in the field of technology. Like all of this, it would be unbelievable if somehow they could figure out how to do that. It's wild. There could be a cure for Alzheimer's. There could be a cure for dementia. There could be a cure for all kinds of mental illnesses. Not just making like a super intelligent, making mankind just super intelligent. You could cure all kinds of mental issues and problems, and it's just mind-blowing, the whole idea of Savant Syndrome. So, something to think about. What do you guys think? Feel free to comment and all that, and we'll discuss. And it just blows my mind. No pun intended.